Hey there, welcome to take 5. Still working on the audio and trying to get the files to save correctly, but I think this one might be the keeper. Okay, so the first thing you need to do when you make a tile set is you need to have Aurora base objects. Those are, I believe, part of the NWMAX library. When you place them, you have the option of setting their position, including basic animations, and naming your stuff. You can name your stuff like I do. This is basically the file name that this is going to export to. I use T for a prefix, meaning tile to me. Then I have a 4-digit combination of the corners. I use whole digits for elevations. All this tile naming stuff is documented on the website I'm posting these to. So you can read up on there. You can make your own tile naming scheme. Doesn't matter. As long as you know what you're doing, and when you make your tile sets, you can find your files. Basically, your first tile type is a plane. It can have contours, it can have rocks, trees, whatever on it, but basically it is a system of 4 corners, and these 4 corners in your basic plane happen to be the same. This is your full tile. When you anchor that to your base and give it a walk mesh, export it, you've got your tile set. You don't need anything more than that to make a tile set. But, of course, the only thing you can draw with it is a flat plane from corner to corner. To do more than that, you have to have elevation tiles if you want them, or different terrains. Here's a small selection of what you would need to make some kind of rolling hills. These are not smooth. These aren't by any means professional at all. They're only one texture, and they cover the range of the 6 tiles total. I've left out the 1/4 tile, which I'll make for you here. Basically, you need your base. My naming scheme would look like this. I have 3 corners, they're level 0, and 1 corner that's level 1. I have no crossers, I have no center height, and I have this is variation of the tile number 1. Tiles are spaced by 1,000 centimeters. You have you may have installed GMAX without changing the centimeters. You can probably, it works for me, leave your units as generic units and they'll export as centimeters. However, if you change them to inches or something, I would not expect the same nice behavior from the exporter. I haven't looked at the code, I'm just making an assumption, but you should either set it to centimeters or leave it as the generic. I would just set it to centimeters. So, okay, we're going to do the 1/4 tile, and to do that I have chosen a height displacement of 200 centimeters, and I just did that wrong. I want to raise just the corner. 200 centimeters happens to be about the height of a human player model. So there you go. You can see I've just basically raised the corner to 200. Okay, but that's kind of lame looking. So what we might want to do is we'll take these vertices right here and we'll just kind of scrunch them in a little bit. It makes it more rounded looking, but it also gives us an issue when you import it into the game. And that issue is that the adjacent tiles and the tile that you're using need to have some kind of unity, or you can see the differences between their smoothing groups for their faces. If I select all the edges here and make them visible, it would be easier to see that this polygon set up here is not planar with this polygon. These ones here are with this one because they're all level 0. But even though the height is proper across this edge here and this edge here, that does not mean that this plane here is equal to this plane here. And you want it to be, Otherwise, once you import it into your game, you're going to see that seam is crisp as a fold-in paper. So what we can do is we'll just use my favorite edge divide, like I use in just about everything, and we'll chop those. Let me select all those and make them visible so I can see them. And we'll do edge turn, my second favorite tool, and we might as well pretty these ones up too. Okay, so now that we've done that, you have a plane out there that can match with the next one over. It doesn't yet. So I have this kind of upside down. This is y is now positive and x is now positive. So being your flat planar coordinates. So what you want to do is you want to line this up. This has a y of 0 because it's right down the center line where I have my tiles lane, and this one is not. This one's like -5. So if we set that to 0, now this line can continue straight across there without interruption or kinks. And then we want to do the same thing up here. So this one's -250, and you want this one to also be -250. Even the slightest bit of being off on that, you're going to see it like it's got a highlighter on it. You can go ahead and the x doesn't matter on these, just the y. The x is going to matter on the other angle. So you can shift those over there, and we can maybe play this over here a little bit more and squeeze these in. Okay, so that plane is one entire plane, equal in both tiles now. So you're not going to be able to see that seam, and this one here is going to be handled by the smoothing groups on this tile. So it's going to come around the corner all nice and slick like. So let's go ahead and do these ones too. This one is an x of 1250, and we're doing an x-axis now. So we want 1250 here. And this one is probably 1000, yep, so this one here, also 1000. And on these ones, if you want to, because we're being strict about the x-axis, we can move the y down here a little bit so they're not taking up so much room. Okay, so there you go. Now you have the corner wrapping portion of this tile set. Okay, so the other one is your half tile. I've already got the half tile done. All I did was erased these sections here. That's all I did. And then here's your 3/4 tile. Again, I erased all these polygons here, these faces, up to the 200 level. And these are your faces to watch out for. These are the ones that you're going to share with the next tile over. So those are the ones that have to be planar with the next tile. So this one here and this one here are your big kickers. You can play with the position, the XY position of many of these faces. But if you were to take this vertex here and move this like so, this face right here can no longer make a nice clean plane with the next polygon, or the next tile over. It's polygon there. So you're going to see that seam, like I said, like it's a fold-in paper. So we'll just undo that. Okay, so your next two tiles are your diagonal tiles. Okay. Now you have in this setup, I have two terrain types. I have a raised terrain and a regular flat base terrain. I make two. Each of them is in some way dominant to the other. This one, the base plane is dominant over the raised terrain, so you can walk on the base terrain all you want to, and there's a crisp height transition here. This one is just the opposite. You can't walk on the base plane through this one without climbing the hill. If I do the tile sets so I can climb that hill, it's a little steep. I probably would not. It'd look kind of weird, kind of EverQuesty, run up steep faces without any problem at all. Okay, so in this one you can see, again, you have to have, these are your caution faces. These are the ones you got to have straight with the next tile over, but you can play with the middle. And this one here, even more so, because you have this raised section up the middle, it would be easy just to omit those, but you shouldn't, because once again, you need to have that nice pairing with your next tile over. So again, I've highlighted the ones that you need to watch out for, which, if you look at these, I don't know if you can see these very good, this green on red. I'm slightly colorblind in that area. You can see there are weird polygon faces here that you don't think you would want or need, but you do want them. Otherwise, you're going to lose that smoothness from one tile to the next. But then that gives you free reign to play with everything in the middle all you want. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you before I do the second video where we do mixing of terrain textures and walk meshes is that you have a whole bunch of extra polygons in the center here. Now this is totally up to you. This is your choice. The way that shading is done in just about everything, even though they're slightly different, is in curves. And you can plainly see, and it's not just an optical illusion, that there is a pattern that starts here, goes down here, up here, down here, up here, and so on and so forth. You can modify that by taking these vertices and joining them somewhere else. Don't mind the smudge texture. You're actually seeing more than smudge texture here. This is shading issues. And depending on how you attach those, this is now kind of going like that. So you can see that the flow of the shader has now been changed. And it depends on how you want it, how the shader is going to happen, how it's going to run, and how it's going to look in game. This is not exactly how it's going to look in game. Neither is this, even with edge faces off. It's close, but all the different engines are going to render it slightly different. Okay, so you can actually have these sections raised like this, or under, or whatever, or you can change your center so there is an obvious definite center there, and it'll change your shading. Like I say, that's all up to how you want it to look in the end. In this basic tile set, I would personally just delete them. So that's it. You have your 6 basic tiles. That's all there is to it. Now you can paint away and make this very basic and actually kind of angular rolling hills. Now in the next one we're going to do a different terrain type. We're going to mix it in with the rolling hills here, and we're going to work on walk meshes.